Hey up campers, Johnny here. Welcome back to the blog. If it's your first time, it's great to have you. If you've been here before and you enjoy it, please think about whether or not you might want to become a paid subscriber. You can do it for the price of a pint. But of course, you're welcome to this for nothing at all. So I hope you enjoy it. This is the first in a series of 3 blog posts. I'm in a kind of period of not writing at the moment because my mum passed away recently, but this was such an important thing and I find myself so exercised by it that I wanted to write about it. So I drafted this first one some time ago and then changed it completely when the report came out, and it relates to the Ammanford Stabbings. That is the incident where a teacher and a pupil were stabbed at Ysgol Dyffryn Aman down in Ammanford in West Wales in Carmarthenshire. So anyway, this is the first of 3, as I say, so I will get on with this and I hope it's useful. And as always, you can subscribe to the blog pods. That is the audio version of this in Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and I think on YouTube as well. So here we go. Lessons from the Ammanford Stabbings, learning from the review of the offences at Ysgol Dyffryn Aman. Introduction. Despite still being in a period of suspension from my usual blogging schedule, ongoing family issues, I couldn't resist sending out something following the recent published review into the Ammanford Stabbings. I have a more thoughtful opinion piece coming out shortly, but thought some of the info that I put together yesterday might be useful to you guys and save you a lot of reading and so on. So here it is. There's a bunch of links and documents below too, but here are a couple of bits that I found and made yesterday while trying to get my head around it all. There is the multi-agency professional report, the incident review, from the event itself. There's a link to that. And then there's 2 other documents I did using AI and a bit of editing. I did a PowerPoint summary of the report and its findings just to kind of distill it. And then there's a 1-page PDF with similar information. It's just a useful overview. So there really is no profitable shortcut to reading the entire thing, but these things are a bit turgid and it's not for everybody, so I hope those will be useful to you. So where next? Well, this case, like many others of its kind, throws up all sorts of questions about what might usefully change to avert future incidents of this kind. You'll recall in summary that there was a very troubled pupil who had removed herself from the class and from the yard at the school and was clearly distressed and in a very negative state of mind. And then there was a confrontation with 2 teachers, one of whom the girl then stabbed, extremely serious, near fatal potentially, stabbing in the neck. And then she ran away and proceeded to stab also another pupil and then was later arrested at the scene. So among the initial things that struck me, and again, this is just my initial thoughts on it, the following 2 blog posts unpack this a bit. So the headings here, the 6, a review of prevent referral criteria, more intervention providers to be available to police and prevent panels, appropriate increased funding to deploy those kind of people, a review of when and how youth offending teams might usefully deployed in that way, provision of fast-tracked risk and neurodevelopmental assessments, and consideration of improved information sharing between agencies. So I'll just run through those really quickly and unpack them a little bit. So a review of the prevent referral criteria. So the prevent referral criteria is a kind of counter-terrorism measure, really to intervene early with folk, that can be children, teenagers or adults, where there's a risk of counter-terrorism involvement or mass casualty events or radicalisation. Obviously, the prevent system seeks to get involved early on and intervene. So maybe a review of the criteria for that and what might be done with those people who don't quite meet it, but are nevertheless a concern. I'll go into that in more detail in future posts, but there was some concern about whether this young person met criteria for that. I think it was ultimately decided that she didn't, but then of course we had this incident. So the question is, I guess, is there profit in revisiting the referral criteria? Secondly, more intervention providers to be available to the police and prevent panels. So these are people, professionals who, at the behest of the prevent panel, could engage with people of interest to get more information, to be able to upload that to the panel for their consideration, but also to build a relationship and usefully help, hopefully in a deterrence prevention kind of way, to steer people away from it. But I know, particularly in Wales, and I suspect throughout the UK, there's a pretty woeful lack of intervention providers with the right kind of skills to help with a wide range of folk who might come to be of interest to prevent panels. So more of those, I guess, would be useful. Thirdly, appropriate increased funding to deploy those people, who can then build links with the people of interest and hopefully avert future incidents and offences. Obviously, somebody's intervening in this kind of way and it's at this level and it requires this kind of skill set. And it's so potentially important, not least for public protection, but also the protections of individuals who may get involved. Then that's going to cost probably not a huge amount, but actually some increased funding in that area might be extremely useful. Fourthly, a review of when and how youth offending teams might usefully be deployed as intervention providers, particularly for those sub-threshold prevent candidates. So that would be young people, teenagers who come to the attention of prevent panel. There's enough concern. Maybe they do meet threshold for an intervention provider, maybe they don't, but we have a statutory youth justice system that is less and less involved these days in custodial sentence and even community sentence supervision, actually. And maybe rather than cut funding to youth justice, we could leave it as it is and add to their portfolio of responsibilities or sort of potential discretionary work, getting involved with prevent kids, possibly. Just a thought. Fourthly, review of when and how youth offending teams get involved. Fifthly, provision of fast-tracked risk and neurodevelopmental assessments. Now, it'd be really useful for these to be available for people who are thought to be in need and who might also be in or on the cusp of the prevent system. We're now, I suspect with this case, and the information comes out, that there will be neurodevelopmental needs. There certainly was in the Axel Ruda-Cabana case, and doubtless others as well, where that neurodiversity may play a role, for example, or even a suspected neurodiversity. So getting a decent assessment early in the process, and where there's public protection concern, to be able to fast track that is really, really important. And I think health folk are attached to youth offending teams, and FCAMs, that is Forensic Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services, could play a role there too. Fast track risk and neurodevelopmental ND assessments, I think, are a potential game changer here, and should be something that is thought about very seriously. It's probably in play in some parts of the countries. I know in Wales that is being considered, but I think we need to just get on and do it everywhere. And then lastly, sixthly, consideration of improved information sharing between agencies, blah-de-blah-de-blah. Of course, that's always the case. I mean, every serious case review or child practice review I've ever read always says that. And it seems to me that in this case, even in the transition from primary to secondary school, this information sharing shortcoming probably played a role. We'll see as the facts come out. So final thoughts. Yet again, a young person with clear and evident needs are slipped through the net. Sadly, it's often the criminal justice system that catches them, as it's the system of last resort, particularly for those kids who skirt on the fringes of safeguarding children's services or of child and adolescent mental health, and then suddenly the behaviour goes very badly awry, and it's criminal justice that pick them up. And unfortunately, in those cases, as in this one, kids end up get prosecuted are actually in pretty dire need and weren't picked up early enough in their journey to be able to avert this kind of thing happening. So they lose out developmentally and in long term and in their life chances because of a serious prosecution. But also there's potential real risk and harm to the public and the ripple effect of that. So instead of changing things, kids end up in custody. So I think it would be a win-win to have a system that confines children to custody only in instances of last resort. And we're getting there. The system is doing well, but we need to change things even more so that they get the earlier help that they need. And that should, I guess the win-win is that the public isn't harmed and childhoods are not sacrificed on the altar of systemic inadequacies, which so often seems to be the case. Anyway, that is a very quick, shallow dive into the MAPF, the Multi-Agency Professional Forum report into the stabbings at Uscall Dyffryn Ammon. As I say, a couple more to come on this, my musings about what might have gone on, and then hopefully some answers from the information as it emerges. As always, there's loads of links at the bottom, including those documents about the report, summarising it for you guys if you want it. So I hope that's useful. If you're listening to this, please consider clicking the subscribe and your notifications button just so that you make sure you get new blog pods as they come out. As always, thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.